Blackouts are once more a reality in South Africa. Our national power grid could collapse. It's potentially the most serious consequence of the grand corruption project known as state capture. Let's get started. It's time for the Democracy Gauge. Good evening and welcome. I'm Bongani Bingwa. Now, we promised you at the start of this season that this program would amplify your voice. So if you're a South African citizen and, like me, will be making your mark on the 8th of May 2019, then it's time for your hopes and your fears to be heard. Pit latrines still exist, mud schools, people live in shacks in Alex whilst mansions glisten in the sun on the other side of the highway in Sandton. Money, not talent, often determines who gets higher education. Some people are unemployable because our education system has taught them precious little. So as politicians crisscross the country with lofty promises, is anyone even listening? Did things have to be this way? What could we have done with monies that were eaten, quite frankly, through corruption? That's why we're asking the poll question tonight. Has state capture ruined our access to equal opportunities for all? You can choose from our three standard colors. Green is for yes, yellow is maybe, and if you say no, then red is your color. You can go to sabcnews.com to vote, and of course we extend that conversation to Facebook and Twitter. Remember to use the hashtags SABCDG25 and SABC News. The majority of South Africans are still struggling to make ends meet and have little to no access to growth opportunities. Our reporter Reginald Witboy met some people who feel only the elite have benefited in this democracy.
The sheer reality of unemployment has hit rock bottom. South Africa's unemployment rate fluctuates but remains at over 20% for the past decade. This figure doesn't even include those that gave up hope along the way. And this even makes investors wary to invest due to the high risk. Meet Tebogo Geteyes, a father of two.
We don't have nothing to eat, Boza, please.
He has been coming here for the past 6 years to hustle for a job. At times, he and others strike it lucky. Good Samaritans come to their rescue when their attempts are in vain. All he wants to do is to provide for his family.
I'm looking after my two children. The other one is finished with school and the other one is still at school. I must pay for his transport, for school. I must buy food also for at home. There is nothing every day. That's why I come here and search for a job.
Geteyes blames those in power for his ordeal.
It's not fair because those people, they steal those money to provide their family. They forget us, those who put them in power.
His friend Leonard Mokgoro, also a father of two, comes to this spot come rain or sunshine.
My experience here, we don't get so job every day. We get job sometimes. Even a whole week we don't get job.
And for many, they don't have a choice but to put their human dignity on the line. This is a common sight of people job hunting in the country. Many are pessimistic that things will change for the better. Some feel this is a major contributing factor leading to the social ills plaguing the country. They say this is not a life they chose, but due to government coffers being abused, they are deprived of the opportunity to find jobs. For them, putting bread and butter on the table is a struggle that continues unabated. Reginald Witboy, SABC News, Kimberley.
So over the next 2 days, the Global Business Roundtable Congress is going to be hosting captains of industry, former heads of state, CEOs from across the continent in Gauteng to talk about achieving sustainable global economic growth and equitable distribution of resources. Mr. Sipho Mseleku is the convener of that roundtable and joins us now. A very good evening to you and welcome to the Democracy Gauge. We thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you very much.
I mean, you're about to have this round table, and the situation we face is not unique to South Africa. Across the continent, post-independence, societies have struggled with governments that have not always delivered, and corruption is a cancer.
Correct. That is why the Global Business Roundtable has come. And we're dealing with ethical leadership across all sectors of society, be it business, education, government, and the huge focus of our conference will be on that. And the challenges we've faced is that most of the time we take the issues of ethics, moral values, corporate governance as soft issues, and yet they are key. We need to put more premium on training and developing leaders who are ethical.
How do we do that, though? Because quite often, I mean, how many times have you heard a politician say, but I haven't been found guilty in a court of law, even though even on the appearance of it, it looks unethical? You
see, the problem is most of the time we are focused on the legalese and on the laws. We've not focused on developing a conscience, a moral value where a person sort of guards himself, adjudicates himself, knows what is right and what is wrong.
There are those who'd say, but that's naive. You're not going to say, you can't have it both ways. You can't accuse somebody of wrongdoing and then expect them to fall on their sword.
No, let me tell you, of course, you do need laws that safeguard the rights of people. And people should be given a chance to be presumed innocent before being considered guilty. But you need an additional mechanism which ensures that I, as a businessman, I know what is right and what is wrong.
How do we create that culture where people can step aside voluntarily and say, I will not tarnish the name of the institution, the organization I represent, even my country, if I'm fingered in wrongdoing?
It's by increasing and instilling programs in education, programs in government, programs even in religious organizations, in business organizations that focus on ethical business practice, on corporate governance, on moral values.
From what we've seen in the Zondo Commission, for example, I mean, the state capture project was a grand vision, if you like. It wasn't just about stealing here and there. It was the hollowing out of institutions, really to ensure that those who looted would get away with it.
Of course. The thing is, we've always relied on people and trusted those in leadership, those in government, to protect our rights and to protect the assets of the state.
What happens when they don't?
People need to take responsibility. We need to take responsibility as organizations, business associations, to ensure that our life does not depend on other people.
So do you blame then, as you saw in our little piece just before we started talking, people who say, this thing is rigged, man. This is in favor of the elites. They're the ones who are going to continue eating. The rest of us are going to be left behind.
World Congress at the Birchwood Conference Center from tomorrow to Friday will be dealing with these issues, dealing the issues of unequal distribution of resources, access to resources, why the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, why the big countries continue to prosper and the countries in Africa do not prosper. Only last week I was reading statistics that says around the global dollar billionaires, there are 2,400 and something, only 1% are African, are black. Why is that? And all the unemployed people, majority of unemployed people stricken by poverty, are Africans and are in developing nations. Why is that? There's no equal distribution of resources.
Well, let's talk about the roundtable you are hosting. There's been an assertion that you may have benefited unduly from the Public Investment Corporation. Is that true?
That's not correct. It's not possible. I've run my company for past 18 years on ethical, moral grounds. I'm glad that the Commission of Inquiry is taking place because it will clear that. and that will be closed once and for all.
But I mean, it's exactly the kind of thing that we're talking about, that now this cloud of suspicion, at least, or at least questions, have been raised.
You know what happened is that the problem that we've had in South Africa is that every black businessman is deemed suspicious or deemed to have used political connections, whatever connection. If you look into how many transactions PIC funds and where most of the money goes, more than 90% go to white business people and white industries. None of them are being interrogated in there. So there's always assumption that when you've done a transaction and you are successful, you are guilty, you've gotten through. And that's a fallacy, and that's what we need to really need to deal with. We're not saying there are people who have not abused the system. There are. And of course, they must be exposed and dealt with.
Look, it's a difficult one because that's the standard defense of anyone who's been fingered in these things. But let's move on. From your point of view,
yes,
how much as an opportunity cost have we lost out due to state capture?
We've lost decades in terms of, because those resources could have used to develop young people, to educate young people, to support entrepreneurs. There's little money given to the Department of Small Business to train, develop, incubate small and medium-sized businesses. So, yes, we've lost opportunities. And if we have used most of that budget just to fund the training of small and medium-sized businesses, to set incubation programs, to set up procurement opportunities for them, we would be very far, the country would be very far.
What do they say? The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a few small steps. Right, yes, good luck with your roundtable. Let's hope some outcomes will be helpful.
There will be a lot of outcomes, and we do invite you and our guests to attend.
Right. We'll have to leave it there, I'm afraid. We've run out of time. We've run out of time, Mr. Msile. We've run out of time. So every day, as you know, on the Democracy Gauge, we have a poll question. You can interact with that at sabcnews.com and on Facebook and Twitter. Remember to use the hashtag SABCDG25 and hashtag SABC News. Tonight, our poll question is, has state capture ruined our access to equal opportunities for all? Remember the colors: green is yes, yellow maybe, red is no. We'll share your views after the break, and we'll put the details of this roundtable on our website. Stay with us.
Did you know that the Nile River is actually 6,695 kilometers long? With such a length, the Nile is speculated to be the longest river in the world. It winds from Uganda to Ethiopia, flowing through a total of 9 countries. While the Nile River is often associated with Egypt, it actually touches Ethiopia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Sudan, as well as Egypt. One of the most well-known facts is the Nile River's ability to produce extremely fertile soil, which made it easy for cities and civilizations to spring up along its banks. The Drakensberg is the name given to the eastern portion of great escarpments, which encloses the central Southern Africa plateau. The name means Drakensberge in Afrikaans and is called Ukahlamba in isiZulu, which means barrier of spears. The Drakensberg escarpment stretches for over 1,000 kilometers from Eastern Cape, then forms the border between Lesotho and the Eastern Cape, and the border between Lesotho and KwaZulu-Natal. It then forms the border between KwaZulu-Natal and the Free State, and next as the border between KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga. It winds north through Mpumalanga, where it includes features such as Blade River Canyon, 3 Rendezvous, and God's Window. The Drakensberg is the highest mountain range in the country. reaching 3,482 meters above sea level.
Welcome back. Well, it's all about you here on the Democracy Gauge. So let's find out what people are saying on social media. We'll start with the picture on Twitter. There weren't equal opportunities even before we knew of state capture, says one view. The question assumes that beforehand there were equal opportunities. Do you really think so? Similar sentiment there. Depends which state capture you're talking about, because even before the Guptas, we never had access to anything, and the system was benefiting a few white minority, like always, and still is. So with or without the so-called state capture, it's same state capture, same. So not much has changed as far as they're concerned. It's quite extraordinary, actually, that some people will think that state capture has had no consequence. Maybe that's why it happened in the first place. Right, let's go to Facebook. Nyambeni says, totally collapses the economy of this country. Here's another one. Unpatriotic cronies with their greed and idiotic mindsets did spoil hard-fought liberation and destroyed poor people and stole their dignity. A final one from Marlon. Not only during the so-called state capture, since BEE started, understandable to some degree, but comradeship in exchange for law and order is too high a price, especially when comrades are wrong. So really a mixed bag in terms of what people feel. A number feeling like they were left out before state capture. Well, it certainly hasn't helped include people, has it? What are your thoughts? We'll hear some of your views directly sent to the show. Well, it's time for the People's View. This section allows you to interact with the show and share your views directly. We've got now a couple of WhatsApp video notes. One is, of course, from, Cisco? And yeah, let's have a look.
I'm a student who's about to finish my degree. Yes, state capture ruins chances for equal opportunities, because those who are politically connected, they get to get the jobs than those who are not politically connected. For example, there are thousands of graduates who are still looking for jobs, yet there are people who are in public enterprises who are working there without degrees.
Good evening, Bongani. I'm Siska Jordan from Secunda in Mpumalanga. My view is that state capture has definitely ruined equal access to opportunities. Firstly, state capture is an issue in our country because of corruption, nepotism, maladministration. Many of the state-owned enterprises have been taken over by these so-called capturers, stealing money away from our country, increasing unemployment in general, and also having a complete negative impact on our economy. It's more expensive to live in South Africa. It's more expensive to be a motorist in South Africa. It's more difficult to find a job. All of this because of state capture. So yes, definitely state capture has ruined equal access to opportunities.
Well, if you want to be part of the People's View in our next show, do send us an email to dg25@sabc.co.za. At the end of this show, I will throw forward to tomorrow's topic. Coming up after the break, we introduce you to 46-year-old Freddie Ratz from Uppington in the Northern Cape. That story is coming up next.
Years go by and new faces are born. New villains and new drama queens. We look back and reflect on the memories that serve us. A tight bond molding us together, creating stories that will last forever. Make your evenings memorable. Weekdays on SABC 1. Mzansi for sure.
The sheer human misery, its devastation and fury, lives swept away in a wink.
It's very difficult. Some of the rooms that we visited had children who could not find their parents, and we cannot find the parents for them. You know, at UNICEF we try to pair and reunite children and families, but we have put out the calls for the parents and there's no response, so we fear the worst. So it is just a very difficult time in Beira. We need assistance. South Africa has been extremely strong, sending help from the government to this government, because the air assets, the planes that have been able to help in Beira, have been crucial for their assistance.
Cyclone Idai cuts a swathe of destruction across 3 SADC countries, Mozambique, Zimbabwe and Malawi.
We were sleeping with my 3 children and the house collapsed on us, and my 8-year-old child was killed. We managed to escape to the kitchen, which also collapsed on us again and killed my 4-year-old child.
Watch African Perspective for the latest news updates on Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Central African Time on SABC News.
I use my name first and foremost, that's all I heard, and from using the name I got a small loan of 8,000 rand.
I remember there is a time la sa zama kumfunela umsebenzi.
Welcome back. Now, every day, as you know, SABC News introduces you to different South Africans as we crisscross the country to find out what their views are. Here's our interactive map. You can find that, of course, on our SABC Elections site, sabcnews.com/elections. This map is there, and if you click on any of these icons, you'll watch all the stories we've profiled. Today, we're all the way in the Northern Cape. We are going to Uppington to look at the story of Freddie Rutz as we talk about people with disabilities. Many say that while strides have been made to promote their rights, not enough has been put into practice. So, as you know, South African laws require public and workspaces to support people with disabilities, things like ramps to toilets, for example. Freddie says this isn't always his experience.
Ek sal sê daar is baie voordele wat ons kry, maar daar is nog baie wat ontbreek. Soos in byvoorbeeld dat ek sal verwag dat hulle nog moet meer aandag gee aan spesifiek die persone met gestremdhede. Hulle het beloof dat gelyke regte, maar daar is nog geen gelyke regte nie. En as hulle praat van gelyke regte, moet ons almal equal wees. Soos in die disabled moet nie gelaat voel word soos 'n disabled nie. Hy moet gelaat voel word soos die gewone mens. Ja, 1994 het was ons opgewonde vir die verandering wat gaan plaasvind en na 1994 het dit gelyk asof die verandering se plaasgevind het, maar net vir 'n tydjie. En vir nou kan ek sê daar het nog geen veranderinge plaasgevind nie. Ek sal wel sien dat Suid-Afrika gaan vorentoe. Ek sal wel sien dat daar is 'n beter lewe soos gebeloof is vir die nasie. Dan droom ek dat ons kinders wat vandag in die haglike omstandighede, hulle moet uitblink. Ek wil sien dat ons kinders word leiers. Nie net sekere persone wat leiers gemaak word nie, maar ons kinders moet leiers bore. En ek wil ons kinders daarbo sien. Dit is die droom vir Suid-Afrika. Die droom lê in ons kinders se hande. As is nog nie wat dit is nie. En daar is nog baie wat ontbreek, soos ek al reeds genoem het, dat soos in byvoorbeeld die reg van die disabled, daar is baie soos dinge wat ontbreek nog in die demokrasie. Dis waarom ek die gele gekies het.
So, do you remember where you were in the build-up to Freedom Day 25 years ago? Well, our extensive SABC archives remind us that on this day, F.W. de Klerk met with Mangosuthu Buthelezi at the King's Palace in Durban to find a solution to the problem of holding elections in KwaZulu-Natal.
Can I just say that our discussions took place in a very constructive spirit, and from the start, from both sides, we were looking for solutions, solution-orientated, and there was no confrontation at all during our whole discussion. There has been, and there continues to be, a commitment from the KwaZulu government to cooperate with the IEC and with all other relevant authorities to ensure that those who want to vote will be able to vote, while the right of those who want to abstain should be fully recognized. We did have a discussion about the contingency plans. We don't have specific plans to send specific troops to specific areas, but yes, I've already publicly said that part of the contingency planning here and in the rest of South Africa is to increase our manpower levels. It will be required in the last weeks to the run-up of the election, and in the follow-up they must be on the basis of being ready and available to deal with problems where problems might erupt, and simultaneously, in any event, we need a spread of people to safeguard the whole electoral process.
In any case, I don't think that setting up troops is a solution. We've had violence in this country for the last 9 years, and each time, the troops have been sent to support the police, but it has not stopped the violence. So therefore, I think that it is very naive to think that if the state president sent more troops, that would solve problems, because in a way it might even compound problems. Because in a situation of volatility which we have in the country, if people see that as an invasion, it may just trigger off just that thing we do not want to be triggered. And even now the SADF, even now townships in some of the areas, they have been supporting the police in trying to maintain law and to diffuse the violence. But it has not stopped the violence at all.
I can never get over how young everyone looked. All right, here are the results from our poll today. There it is, 69% of you saying yes, the maybes are at 13%, and the no's are at 18%. So that's the result of the poll. As always, we thank you for watching and participating in our show. Tomorrow's poll question, have we forgotten South Africa's farm workers? That poll is now open. You can choose from the three colors: green yes, yellow maybe, red for no. And of course, you can go to sabcnews.com and answer our question on Facebook and Twitter, remembering to use our hashtags SABCDG25 and SABC News. Of course, you're also welcome to view all our profiles from today and in other episodes again on our website, sabcnews.com/elections. That's where we'll leave it. As always, Fortune and myself are grateful for your participation and for watching. Until tomorrow, ubusuku benzolo. Good night.